Nice, cool. Okay, should we get started? Are you guys ready? How many of you don't like horror films? Horror movies? You don't like it? Okay, you start to like it. Okay, I think I'm hyping this up way too much, but let's start. Well, okay, so part one. I mean, I think I already asked this question. Maybe it's better if I stand this side, yeah, or maybe that side. I don't know. Okay. So yeah, just again, quick show of hands. How many of you watched it online or attended it in person? So hi. So what that's like 80% of the people. Okay, fair enough. There will be a recap previously on season 1 types, but yeah, okay. But the thing is that what I did in part 1 was just something that I wanted to share with everybody, right? And I essentially had been jotting all of these down for many years, ever since I started my career, and all my observations. It was like journaling, and then I suddenly IndieFolio, I don't know if you know that brand, they came out and then they said, Chetan, we want to do an event with you, whatever you want to talk about. And then I said, do you want it offline or online? They said offline. So then I said, fine, I'm flying to, I come in March or April every time, once a year. And they said, let's do it. And then I just sat down, made an entire deck. And it's very difficult to rant in a structured format, okay? Have you ever tried doing that? It's pretty difficult. So it takes a while to prepare this deck. And what I'm about to show you is just a couple of comments from that video, which the thing was, I had no idea. Sorry? Audible? Should I keep it more close? Oh, okay, fine, got it. This is too difficult. Okay. So, yeah, these are just comments from the first video. And essentially what people have taken away from that video, right? So, and apparently some of my quotes have become popular as well, which I didn't expect. So essentially successful people have access to opportunities they want, right? That's how I would define somebody as successful. This is a rare talk. I believe a lot of time on Instagram, 95% of the people talk about the pixels, or they just constantly talk about the courses. Jesus, I'm tired of saving their posts. Common problem. All right. Product designers were true designers once. Now there are a bunch of people who are entitled who have no idea about design. This is pretty brutal, you know. Yeah. Not my words, huh? You can say, I don't know, Jux 555. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Chetan. It was only insightful, but also a roller coaster of a reality check. Welcome to season 2 of that. Now I ask myself a very subtle, very valuable question before taking design-related product design career. I've also learned some good values from this video. So a lot of thanks to you. Thanks for watching. And yeah, this video really showed me where I'm lacking, the entire process of figuring things out and actually enjoying the journey, right? So previously on Don't Be an NPC part 1, for those of you who don't remember, super quick recap. I would have done like a proper trailer and stuff, but obviously there's no time. But there are 3 things, and for those of you sitting in the back, you may not be able to see the text at the bottom. I've moved most of them up, but just stand if you can, right? The first one is I mentioned that social media is essentially a big fat lie, and everything that you see is not supposed to be taken at face value. It's information that it's information that's not what you need to hear, but it's information that you want to hear. You want to hear nice things, and that's what social media is going to tell you. And the whole point, there are 3 major things, and the first one is that social media is an entire lie. So don't believe everything you see there. The second thing is I mentioned that product designers are not executioners, and I'm using the word product design, but I know everybody uses different terms in their company, so I'm just bucketing everything and I'm saying product designers are not executioners. Our job is not just designing interfaces. We do a lot more things more than that. We are essentially thinkers. And the last one is making the right career moves at the right time. And I spoke about this thing where I said that the first 3 years of your career is very important, and that will sort of lay the foundation to sort of where you end up in your career, right? So these are the 3 main things. And so this was 2 years ago when I made this talk 2 years ago and uploaded it on YouTube. And it's been 2 years since then. And a lot has changed, right? I think in the world of tech, in the world of design, a lot has changed. It's not become easy for anybody. Even for me, it's not really become easy. I've also had to keep pushing and making sure that I don't, take it lightly. But one thing that I've noticed, and let me know how many of you agree with this, is that people have sort of accepted the reality. I think they're no more delusional, if I were to say that, right? How many of you feel this is happening with you and people you speak around with? Nobody. Yeah? Like, do you feel people have started to realize what is happening in the industry? Or is it that you have no clue what is happening? You've realized it's become difficult. You've realized there are a lot of challenges. You've realized that what you thought product design was is something totally different, right? And this is, makes me happy because it's important that people realize the reality and your limitations, how to make the right decisions, right? Because I think at the end of the day, not everybody can achieve the same level of success, same level of opportunities, same salary. The world doesn't work that way, right? And if you enter the industry with the wrong notion, the only problem is that it is going to take a big mental toll on you, right? And I think that is the biggest reason why people are underconfident, why they are not able to work efficiently, why the productivity drops, why they're not able to make the right career choices, right? And this is important to accept the reality that we're in. So, how many of you know what this is? Any idea? Yeah, show of hands, full high. Okay. So this is a screenshot from Squid Game Season 2, right? How many of you have seen part 1 of Squid Games? Again, a lot of you. How many of you have not seen part 2? Okay, a lot of you have not seen part 2. Okay, cool. Yeah, the thing is I try to take a movie reference from like in season 1, part 1. Why do I keep saying season? It's not season. Part 1, I took a screenshot from a different movie, which was, I think, Free Guy. And this one is Squid Games. Now, quick context for what this image is. So for those of you who have seen, obviously, both of them, this is one of the games that they have to play. And in the first season, the game is pretty simple. It's just 4 simple shapes. And so the protagonist of the season, he comes back into the second season as a participant. And so he now knows what has happened. He now knows how the game works. And so he essentially ends up, spoiler alert, I'm just telling you what happens, but it's okay. So he essentially tells everybody that everybody take the triangle because that's the easiest one, and I've played this game before. And so when the game starts, they get this. And so then they realize that, hey, you said this is supposed to be easy. This is a mad triangle. We're all going to die. Spoiler alert, this was like a dream. It wasn't real, right? So the point I'm trying to say is I'm like that guy who had participated in season 1, and all the new people in the industry are the ones entering the game in season 2, which is already difficult. So most of you are actually starting your career at the first boss level itself. For those of you who play video games, there are games where there are only bosses you have to fight, constant bosses. I play a lot of games, so I know this, right? So 5 years ago, things were easy where you could start with level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and then maybe first boss. Today, the moment you start your career, you're starting off at boss level 1, right? Which is already very difficult. So what is part 2 all about? Okay, let's talk about that. So this is one of the questions. On a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you in your career, right? I have the number. Can anybody want to take a guess what the answer is on an average? Okay, let's go. Let's start with 10. How many of you think it's 10? Yeah, good. Nobody's delusional. Okay, 9. You think the average is 9? Okay, one guy. Okay, why do you think average is 9, if I may ask?
Because they're already established company work, so.
Okay.
So I think your average is 9.
Not me. Yeah, you. Not how I am satisfied. How you are satisfied. Yeah. Okay. I hope you answered the question correctly. Okay. 8. Okay. 2 hands. 7. 7. Also, we got a few more hands. 6. Okay. 6. 5. 5 again. Almost 40%. 3 to 1. Any of those? 1. Wow. Oh wow. You think 1? Okay. Okay. So basically, I just downloaded it and put a formula, and the answer is 6. Okay. So congratulations. all of you are not satisfied. Okay. So there are two things that I want to talk about, and the whole video is going to be surrounding these two things. And this is where the good news is and the bad news is, and I want to set this expectation up front. Okay, now I'm going to leave this to you. Which one do you want to know first? The good news, or you want to know the bad news first? Liars. Okay. Well, you don't have an option. The slides are already done. So are you ready for the first bad news? And it follows by a good news, but I have to justify and explain what all of that is. So, yeah. I'm going to read it out. People at the back may not be able to see it, but yes. The first bad news is that majority of designers will have mediocre careers. Should we stop the movie? No? And I want to be very clear with the definition of mediocre, right? Mediocrity is not related to happiness or sadness. There are, and I think you probably would have heard entrepreneurs talk about this in Shark Tank and other shows and interviews, that not everybody needs to achieve a high level of success. Some people are okay with mediocrity, right? And of course, when personal life, you add that to the equation, you have to compromise on something, either personal life or on career. And I'm sort of generalizing over here, of course. Of course, there are a lot of exceptions over here, right? But this industry is wired in such a way, and it has so many good things, and it also has so many bad things, that majority of designers will have mediocre careers. Now, this is not about saying that they'll be unhappy. A lot of designers, I already know, I would call them as mediocre designers, but they're very happy and satisfied with where they are. And sometimes I get a little jealous of that, saying that, how are you okay with mediocrity? Like, Chetan, I have bigger problems in life, what salary I'm getting, what job I'm doing. I'm fine with okay being a mediocre designer, right? And this is important to know. I'm not saying that this should demotivate you or you need to accept mediocrity, but there is a good chance this may happen, and that's the reality. And essentially, my definition of mediocrity is that you will have to let go of some of the things you want to achieve in life for other reasons, right? It could be personal, it could be maybe you're actually not able to do it and you have to accept it over a period of time, right? And all of you voted, and the answer came out to be 6, which I would say is a mediocre number, right? So this is the first good thing. Now, good news. I don't even know how many of you will believe what I'm about to show you, but this is the good news. So this is Superman sweeping the floor, okay? What this essentially means is that a mature company doesn't guarantee career growth anymore. I'm not saying that it will never, but there is this huge misconception that career growth can happen only in big, mature companies. That is not the case anymore. So a lot of you who think that you need to get into one of the big brands to have a successful career and learn, that is not true anymore. Maybe it was 5 years ago. It gave everybody a good head start. It gave me a good head start. A lot of my peers, it gave us a really good head start. But this is not true anymore. And I want to I don't want you to believe this just because I'm saying it. I will prove both of these things to you throughout the thing with various examples and stories, right? Because this is 2 years worth of rants that I've written down, right? So, when I was starting out as a designer, I always told people that passion and hard work are the two most important things to become successful in this career. And that's what I've always told people, and I think that's something that all of you agree as well. Anybody disagrees with this? Passion and hard work? You disagree with this? Okay, good. Thanks for disagreeing. And to be very honest, this is something that I disagree with as well. I've been a designer for a while now, and I've worked at 3 different companies and obviously worked in multiple types of companies, and I've seen the industry, and I don't know how many of you know that I've been doing these one-on-one sessions with people which people have sort of enjoying. So I think in 2 months, I did around 50 sessions, and people just decided to book as many sessions as they want with me. And I speak to them, I understand, I set them on a growth plan, and it is great, right? And I'm understanding so much. And I've realized that passion and hard work is only the starting part of your journey. Once you've been a designer for 3 years, 4 years, these two become the least important. In order to actually achieve something, there are a lot more things that people don't think about, people don't know about, and people are not aware about. Passion and hard work is only the starting point. After a certain point, these things don't even matter anymore, right? And I'll tell you what all of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points are, right? And I'm not going to tell you all of them one by one. We're going to go through, I'm not going to tell you all of it right now. We'll go through one by one. So let's start off with the first one. I'm going to share a story of mine. And I never thought the story is something that is even worth telling. It is just something that happened to me. And it was just an event of life. There was no meaning to it. But now I've sort of finished school, I've realized that this story actually made a lot of sense. So when I was in school, I was not a great student. I was always in the 60s to 70s range. I mean, I liked going to school. I loved going to school. I hated it when schools, gave holidays and stuff like that. I was not a nerd, but I just liked going to school for some reason. And I like to gain knowledge over money. Not that I don't like money, but if given a chance, I would pick knowledge over money. That's the sort of guy I am, right? And there's nothing wrong if you like money over knowledge. It's totally fine. There's no problems with that. So till 9th standard, I was always in the 60s to 70s range. And obviously, my parents would scold me all the time because I'm not scoring well, typical Indian parent issue, right? And then 10th standard came. Now, I don't know how many of you know this. I don't know how the syllabus is right now. But when I was studying, we had these pre-boards, which is after 6 months. And then now you have your full boards. And I studied in Bangalore. I'm from Bangalore. And I studied in a school called Kumarans. I don't know how many of you know this. It's pretty far away. And Kumarans sets very difficult question papers, like very, very difficult. It's like interviewing one of these top companies. Their question papers are so difficult. So no matter how hard I tried, I could never really score good marks. Very rarely, probably once in 3-4 years, I would get like 80 marks or something, right? So I studied for the pre-boards in 10th, and 10th is obviously important because then you get your marks, which college you get into, stream, yada, yada, yada. All these things matter, right? And I gave my first pre-boards, which was after 6 months. And again, around 60s to 70s range is what I got. And then this time the teachers called all the parents, to school to have like a parent-teachers meeting to discuss options. I don't even remember what happened. And my mom had come. And there was this guy called Sachin in my class. And Sachin and I were classmates. I think now he's in IIT Madras. He's working on rockets or something like that. And he's like this super duper, he's a gifted guy, right? He I don't know how he scores marks, all these Olympiads and NTSC exams and God knows what other exams. And he was always a topper. And he wasn't like a nerd. Like he would play chess and he would play with Rubik's Cubes and he would also party and stuff like that. So you could never really think that he's an actual nerd because he doesn't study for long. And I always knew that this guy is gifted. Like there's no way anybody can sort of be like this. Like he's one of those top 1% people in Bangalore. And I was his classmate, right? And my mom and Sachin's mom were sort of close and friends, and we've gone to their house a couple of times during school days and all of that. And my mom actually got worried during that parent-teachers meeting, and then she saw Sachin's mom and she went and asked Sachin's mom, hey, Chetan is actually struggling with his exams. How does Sachin really study? What is his studying pattern? What does he actually do? How the hell does he score such good marks? And she basically asked my mom, okay, tell me how Chetan studies. What is his studying pattern? How does he study? So my mom told, okay, this is how Chetan studies, this is how many hours he studies, this is what he does on weekends, whatever. And she suggested one thing to my mom, saying that ask Chetan to do this. And so then I came back home with my mom, and my mom told me, I spoke to Sachin's mom, and she's saying, you should try doing this, right? And I was like, fine, I'm out of options, I'll do it. But here's the thing. This one thing that Sachin's mom suggested, I have 6 months to prove this, like to make use of it. And I have only one shot. I can only give my 10th board exams once, and that's in 6 months. I have no way to check whether this system or strategy is going to work or not. I have no idea if this is going to work. 3 outcomes could happen. 1, I could become a topper. 2, I could fail. And number 3, I could just still end up scoring the same marks that I'm getting. Right? And this is a very big risk I have to take because I have one shot. I don't know how to validate whether the strategy is going to work or not. I can't test it with 20 marks unit tests. I have to study for it for 6 months, trust it, and give my final exams. And so I took that, advice and I added it to my studying pattern, and I gave my exams, and the results came. How many of you think I scored lower than what I was getting? It's a trick question, huh? Okay. How many of you think I scored pretty much the same amount as I was getting before? 20, 30%. Okay, and I guess the rest of you think I scored really well. Come on. But yes, I became a topper. And not just that. When I gave my second PUC, or 12th is what we say, I mean, second PUC is what we say in Bangalore over here. I did BCom because I wanted to do CA. And I got, I think, 100 in accounts, 99 in business, 98 in statistics, and 92 in math. This is not to show off. I'll come to the point later on, right? And then I went on to do CA. I cleared my first level CA, first exam in first attempt, second level in second exam in first attempt, and I didn't clear the final exams because I wanted to move into design anyway, because I was learning design and preparing for my finals in the last. So why am I telling you this story? It's because in order to reach a particular goal, you have to identify your learning strategy. And this is probably one thing that people don't do when they enter this profession. They think there is a template way to learn something. And coming back to my story, right? It was that one change that I did that made me realize how to crack these exams. I didn't become smart or intelligent. I forgot everything 2 minutes after I finished the exam. But the only thing advice that I got from Sachin's mother helped me to crack these exams. That's about it. And the goal was not to become smart. The goal was not to become intelligent. The goal was not to prove anybody. All my parents wanted were marks. Fine, I will give you that, right? And that's what I did because of this one thing. And for those of you who are curious what that is, basically I like to walk and study. So I open my book, I read a lot, and I keep walking. That's my strategy. And what Sachin's mother basically told me was ask Chetan to stop doing that and ask him to start writing things blindly, right? And math was actually my favorite subject. And to study math, all of us have to actually practice problems, which involves a lot of writing. And that is why I always loved maths and I was good at math. But the rest of the subjects are theory subjects. So I just took that idea of writing things down and I started writing everything down, because when you're writing, you're trying to revise 3 times. First, you tell it in your head, and then second time when you're writing, you tell it again while you're writing, and the third time, once you finish writing, you read it again. So sort of repeating itself 3 times, right? And that is a strategy that worked for me. I'm not saying that other people scored good marks with the strategy, but I just realized that this strategy is what worked out for me and that helped me crack my exams, right? And as product designers, we are starting off, like I said, at first boss level. You need to really identify what sort of learning strategy works for you. How do you learn a particular skill? It's good to take advice from other people and see how other people are doing, but you need to try it out yourself and see if this strategy works for you. And one thing I want to mention here is that every skill requires a different strategy. And this is something that I've been thinking about my career as well. How did I learn UI design? How did I learn problem solving? How did I think about, thinking about metrics and KPIs, and how did I become creative? Every skill, I learned it in a very different way, right? I'm going to come to skills a little bit later. It's a much deeper topic. But as designers, what we don't do is try to identify what is this learning strategy that individually works for me. And like I said, every skill, whether you're learning UI, whether you're doing competitive analysis, whether you're learning how to write a PRD, every skill requires a different learning strategy. And this is essentially one of my favorite lines, is figure out how to figure things out. That first part is where the trouble is. Once you figure out what learning strategy works for you, you can then just apply that learning strategy and you're going to get results. So, how do you actually build a learning strategy, right? It is through repetition and failures. 9 years of scoring 60 marks, 1 year of scoring 100 marks, right? And in order to do this, you need to give in the time and energy, and you need to fail to understand what works and what doesn't. And given that there is no gate to enter this industry, people think it's a goddamn amusement park, right? And so then they come and then they see that these rides are so tall and so scary, and the height limit is over here, right? So you're not even eligible to enter the ride, but the entry fee is, it's free. You can enter the amusement park for free. And so unless you try to learn every skill and you fail multiple times, you will not understand what is going to work for you and what is not going to work for you. This self-realization itself is what lacks in most people, which is why the industry is where it is today, right? And I'm not blaming you. I think everybody is a problem, including me. I'm also a part of the problem, right? I am giving people hope. There are other people who are also giving hope, and it's a big mess, right? But this is the world we live in, and we have to accept it, right? So repetition and failures. One more thing, avoid paths that do not allow failure. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. People are so scared of giving in time and failing and trying and testing that they try to choose paths that don't allow you to fail. And I don't want to get into examples over here. All of us have tried to take a path that prevents us from failing, and we've realized that it was not worth it. Maybe sometimes it was, maybe it sometimes wasn't. But because most people avoid paths that do not allow failure, they only want success, and that is not going to happen when there is nothing to prevent you from entering this industry, right? Formal education obviously hasn't taught us. 9 years or 10 years in school, I was not told or taught why something works, how something works. We were just told the what. A, B, C, D, E, that's it. There is nothing else. We were just taught how to score well in exams. Like, we were just told to score well in exams, how to write a particular answer. But I mean, I don't have to explain how the education system is today, right? That's the thing. So that's about learning strategy. Now, to be very honest, I can end the session right here and say, this is all you need to change. Enjoy, that's it. Just this one thing. If you can figure out this one thing, how to learn every single skill you're struggling, how to crack interviews, how to learn design, how to, I don't know, identify how to pick the right color. I'm just getting into the basics over here. If you just figure this one thing out, that's fine. Because this is one thing that I've seen in myself and all other people who are even more successful than me, people who I look up to, people who I want to be like. They have really cracked the art of learning, to be very honest. And that is so key. Like, they have figured out how to learn something. So I'll give you a real example. I have been focusing a lot on learning advanced prototyping. Now, how do I learn this with AI, without AI, with code, without code? There are so many ways. I've tried all of them for 6 months, and then I figured out what is the best way for me to learn advanced prototyping. And I don't know how many of you are seeing what I've been posting over the past few years. So there is this tool called Play, which creates prototypes that are which is very similar to like a Swift UI prototype, which is like coded. And I create a lot of these prototypes for our app, and we're building these motion design guidelines. And I decided to build like an entire playground, and maybe I can show it to you guys, today if I have some time. And all of this, people thought it was a real app, but this was just super advanced prototyping. But it's not that I got on day one and I figured out how to learn this tool. I spent 6 months trying to learn Swift UI. I realized this skill is not for me. I cannot learn coding. I tried a couple of AI tools, did not work. I gave it my honest attempt. And then I decided, looks like anything to do with AI or code I'm not capable of learning that. So I'm not going to bother that much. I need to find out another way to learn a particular skill, right? And I really want to show you that. I can probably show it to you towards the end. And it's pretty crazy, right? I was myself very fascinated of how I was able to do it. All right, moving on to the next one. Do you have a growth mindset? Okay, without context, how many of you feel you have a growth mindset? Show of hands, be super honest, huh? The front people can turn around and see how many people are bluffing. Yeah, okay, anybody wants to volunteer? I'll just ask you one question. Those of you who raised, okay. Why do you feel you have a growth mindset, and can you define what's a growth mindset?
I feel like, I'm confident. I'm okay for failing.
Okay.
Trying new things, and I just want to really go into the core and understand things before just making the toppings better. Instead, just go deeper and then work towards it and then come out. That's what my mindset is. So I think that growth mindset is.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. Anybody has a different opinion or answer? Yeah.
Take action faster.
Okay.
Learn something, try to act and iterate.
Iterate.
As you iterate, like you can get it more better way.
Okay. For you, that's a growth mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Anybody else from the back? So many of you raised. Oh, well, now you guys are scared. Oh. One. Yeah, go for it.
So I follow the line never settle.
Never settle.
Yeah, so this is what it is, like growth mindset, growing out, and just learning new things.
Okay.
If not product design, learn something else.
Yeah, and do you feel you've applied that mantra in your career or life?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, those of you who didn't raise your hands, why? Why no growth mindset? What is this? Yeah, so maybe those of you who didn't raise your hand, why do you feel you don't have a growth mindset? Imposter syndrome. Okay. Yeah. Google. Anybody else? Those of you who didn't raise your hands, why do you feel you don't have a growth mindset? One more and I'll leave you guys, promise. Yes?
I think it's just getting comfortable in your what you do.
Got it. Okay. Now, I think it's very hard to sort of define what is a growth mindset, but this is my definition, right? And I get a lot of questions from people, a lot. And this is not recently. I've been getting this for like years and years and years, right? Where people tell me, Chetan, I work in this company. I've been working for this company for 2-3 years. I'm looking for a change. I don't like this. I don't like my manager. I don't like the work. They have their own reasons. And Chetan, I want to get into a good company. I've been trying interviews. I don't know. I'm getting rejected. What should I do? How do I get into a really good company, right? And this question, I think a lot of you probably would have asked, and I've been asked this question so many times. And this is essentially what the question is. Chetan, what else should I do? And in my definition of how I differentiate somebody who has and does not have a growth mindset is this word else, right? Because what this essentially means is you are telling me that you have tried everything to achieve your goal and you're saying you're out of it. You cannot say what else can I do for another 5 years. You cannot say that. It's impossible that you have tried everything, right? So when you say what else should I do, you're not being very honest over here. Instead, you should say, what should I do next? The reason I say this is because you need to know what happens if things go right and if things go wrong. Now, this is mainly for people, this could be applied to people who already have jobs, but most of you who don't have jobs and are starting, you want your first internship, you want your first job, they think that doing some certification online, watching some tutorials, maybe design school, maybe bootcamp, whatever your method is, you attend that, you try to make one random case study, and then you will apply for jobs and you will get it. How did you think that it was so easy? Like, what made you think it was so easy? Like, who told you this? And now you can't come and tell me, Chetan, what else should I do? Well, buddy, you need to know 20 different things. There are 20 different things you haven't tried. And without knowing what these 20 different things are, you shouldn't even enter the industry, right? But who's there to stop people from entering this industry, right? And a lot of people learn this through experience, right? So the moment, and even today, right, I can say, I've worked at 3 different companies. I worked at a FANG company. I have 20 things on my checklist of what I want to do next, right? I know what I'm supposed to do if I want to leave my current job and if I don't want to leave. I know the advantages and disadvantages of staying where I am currently. I know the advantages and disadvantages of leaving my current company, right? Am I going to come back to India? Am I going to move to another country? I have mapped out every single thing. I have a plan for everything. And this is what people don't do. You can't go to the final step and then they say, oh, door is closed. I don't know what to do now. You can't do that. You need to know what to do next if things don't go according to plan, right? And people want all of this to be done in a short period of time. They want quick solutions because they don't know the process of learning, because when you are learning, there is no end to it. When you have a growth mindset, you are always thinking about what the hell is next, right? That is the biggest difference. So learning strategy, when you have a learning strategy, you will automatically have a growth mindset because you will know what you are capable of doing, right? When you have this growth mindset, you will end up building a habit of achieving tiny, tiny goals, right? And this is something that people don't do. They think the first goal is getting a job. No, you need to achieve 10 more things before you start applying to a company, right? And this applies to even people who already have a job, right? Somehow you got a job, you've been in the industry for 2 to 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever, and now you want to shift, right? What have you done in these 5 years? That's the biggest question, right? Because small achievements builds self-confidence. Probably one of the most underrated things that are there out there. Probably the most underrated things. A lot of people are so scared to do something because they have not built any self-confidence. I'm not going to tell you what are the achievements. I'm not going to tell you what you need to do to build confidence. You are in control and you decide what gives you confidence, bro. I understand. Sometimes you'll be delusional with overconfidence. I get it. Happens to everybody, right? But at sometimes you have to achieve something and build that self-confidence yourself, one step at a time, slowly, step by step. Achieve small things before you fight the first boss, because you're starting today at the first boss level, right? It's so important to build the self-confidence. And essentially, when you build self-confidence, you build a momentum for growth. Growth happens over a very long period of time, right? And this is why I'm saying that most designers will have mediocre careers, is because only at a certain point in your career will you realize that you're out of options. You realize that you're stuck. And I'm going to talk about what all of these are. It's pretty interesting, right? So all of these are connected. Once you identify a learning strategy, you will build a growth mindset and you will build self-confidence, because it becomes an addiction trying to achieve things. It becomes a goddamn addiction, right? And that addiction is what is going to get you growth, right? But people don't want to learn. They want to stay in their comfort zone, which I think is the next slide. No, okay, probably the next one, but yeah. And a lot of people think, right? They say that, I'll write a case study, put it out there, that's an achievement, and I'll get a job. No, I'll tell you what's an achievement. Putting that out there, getting feedback from 10 people, tearing apart your entire case study and writing it again with all that feedback and uploading it again, that's an achievement. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry can write a case study and put it online, right? That is not an achievement. Doing things that others are scared to do and cannot do is an achievement, right? And writing case study is just one example I'm giving, right? But there are so many things that you can do for yourself, and you know what your goals are. Achievements have to be linked to the goal you're trying to achieve. It's not the same thing for everyone, right? And of course, growth cannot happen staying in your comfort zone. I think somebody already mentioned that. Yeah. So that's about growth mindset. Okay, 2 down, 5 to go. Who's ready for some gossip? Everybody loves gossip. I also love gossip, right? And I've been on social media for a while. I know the good things, I know the ugly things of social media. And one thing I realized is Indians love gossip. They just love it so much, right? I also love gossip, but I make sure that I use it not to misuse it. I use it to give good advice to people, to inform people. It's information is the new currency. Like they say, attention is the new currency. Information is also important. So there's this thing called, as something I have keyed, it's called the designer's ratio. I don't know if you can see it properly, but designer's ratio. I'm going to tell you all a story. So maybe let me explain what designer's ratio is, right? And this is, again, there's no framework, theory, or book about it. This is something that I invented for myself, okay? And I'm sharing it with all of you. It is the number of designers that are there in a company in proportion to the size of the company. Let me explain. So let's take a company ABC, right? For the scale of the company, the products, the offerings, the services, how many designers is it actually supposed to have in order to fully function and build, right? That's basically what I say. And of course the ratio is different for every company. Every company is different. The number of products, services, offerings, everything, it's different, right? So at the end of the day, there needs to be a certain level of designers in a company in order to efficiently run the company, right? One thing that I've started to notice, and it's actually very weird, is that there are a lot of companies in India, good brands, startups, I'm not going to take any names, I'm not going to get into any trouble, is that they have so many designers than they should have. And I'm like, why does this company have so many designers? It's absolutely useless. It makes no sense, right? And this is not just my opinion. I have people who have worked in some of these big brands, and they realize, and they tell me one thing, and they are like junior designers. They tell me, Chetan, half of these senior designers are clowns. They don't know anything about design. They have like intern level work. They have like 4 years experience. They don't know Command K is for scale. I have to teach them that, right? And that's because the company initially, I mean, I don't know why this happened, but this has happened, right? And I'm not going to name this company. I have a friend of mine. He's been a friend for a very long period of time. And he interviewed with one of these big companies. And he didn't tell me that he was interviewing. And at the end, he cleared all the rounds. He applied for like a senior lead role. And he called me after he got the offer letter. Like, he didn't accept it. He said, Chetan, I got an offer from this company. Do you know anything about this? Give me, should I join this company or not? And I, at that time, didn't really know much about this company. I mean, I knew the company, but I didn't know about the culture, the designers. I hadn't heard much about it. So then I said, look, dude, I don't really know. But what was your experience? What did you feel like? How was the interview rounds? Do you feel like these guys are smart, whatever? He was like, yeah, Chetan, they seem smart only, but I don't know, man. They feel like they're calling me to do some cleanup work. I feel like they've messed up so much. Their design system, their culture, their hierarchy, their this. I feel like they're hiring somebody like a cleanup crew, like a hit crew, right? And I told them, then look, dude, then you go with your gut. If you say that they're pretty messed up inside and they have a lot of these designers, then don't join, right? And this was, I think I would say probably 1.5 years ago. And then I started hearing things about this company slowly from other designers, juniors. A friend of mine also recently joined that company as a junior designer. And she told me the same thing. Chetan, half these senior designers are clowns. They don't know anything about design. And I don't understand how they're getting paid so much. It makes no sense. And I feel bad for taking a lower position because I felt like it would hurt their ego or whatever. And I feel like now I should have taken a better position. They were offering me a better position. I should have taken it. I was the one who told them that I don't want it because I feel like I'm not ready to take up that responsibilities, right? And once she joined the company, she got so angry saying that these senior designers, managers, I mean, I'm not saying everybody, but they have overhired so much that half of the people are complete clowns, right? Yes, they are making decent amount of money because the company is big, right? But she said, Chetan, I don't understand how this is even possible. And I realized that so many companies in India, big brands, have this problem. I'm not saying all of them. Some companies really good. They know how to have a good culture. They know how to hire. They know how to make sure that everybody gets equal opportunities, right? The thing is that these big brands, joining there today as a product designer, there are as many cons as there are pros. Now, the advantages of joining big brands like this, we all know that. It's not difficult. It's pretty obvious why you want to join a good company with many designers. But people don't even think about this, and I don't blame them because it took me so many years to figure this out myself, right? And I'm going to tell you what these disadvantages are. And I've also seen this with my experience. I work in a very, very small team at Trade Republic. Actually, I should have probably introduced myself regarding that, but I'll do that later. It's in the slides. Again, backbenchers, you have to stand up. But the first one is if you work in a large team, there is a very high chance that you will have low visibility, right? This is probably the most important thing. There are 4 points, And it's pretty obvious that when you're in a large team, it's very difficult for you to get good visibility because the most important thing is that it becomes very difficult to gain trust, right? And when you have let's say 50 designers, I'm just taking a random example, even the smallest of the smallest mistake that you do or, negligence is going to get glorified because there are 50 other designers that are out there and it is easy to find faults in somebody, right? Because at the end of the day, you as a person are going to be compared with 40 other designers when appraisal round comes, whether promotions, hiring, God knows whatever, right? And when it is difficult to gain trust, you get less opportunities. And this is why my friends were saying half these designers are clowns is because they've been in the company for so long, but they've not gotten really good work to do, and they haven't been given opportunities to show their skill or learn because people don't trust them, Like whatever, maybe there was a bad hire. God knows how the hiring happened many years ago. It's not easy to just fire people. And Indian startups have a lot of money, right? So they don't have to lay off designers unless they have to do like a company-wide layoff, right? Of course, companies have done layoffs for designers, but it's more likely that we'll give you all these chuntu-muntu small tasks for you to do, and you stay in this company, we'll pay you, but that's about it. And people are happy with that, right? And the last one is obviously you're expendable, right? If you make a small mistake, that project can be taken away from you and given to somebody else. Or if they don't really like you, they can send you out of the company, right? These are so important that people don't even understand this, right? And companies are also pretty lenient. They will let you sit and they will bench you. I mean, not technically bench, but they will give you, you'll have low visibility. They'll not give you opportunities. They'll not give you good projects because you haven't built that trust, right? And this is not one company. I can name so many companies, which is why I'm telling you guys today that getting into a mature company doesn't guarantee success anymore. It will give you success, but there are so many other factors that determine whether you will get the opportunities you want and you will be successful or not. It's not just getting into a big brand is going to solve all your problems. It will not. And I don't know what the next slide is, but maybe I'll just tell it now. Maybe for those of you who may not know, I worked at Unacademy and then went to Apple, and then I left Apple and then moved to Germany to work at Trade Republic. And Trade Republic, when I joined, we were only an investing platform like Grow, Zerodha, and now we're also a full-fledged bank. So think of it as HDFC Bank combined with Zerodha, right? So we have three types of users: one who use our platform only for investing, one who use it as a bank, and who also use it both. I use it for both. All my transactions, I get my salary there and everything. When I left Apple, I was very clear of the fact that I wanted to work in a small team. I don't care if I'm working over hours. I don't care if I'm working on weekends. I don't want to work in a big team. Because when I was working at Unacademy, when I joined, I loved that there were just 5-6 designers, and that was it. And Unacademy is a big brand, right? It's a big company, and we were really expanding and launching at that time. And I really wanted to make sure that I wanted to get a lot of work. I wanted visibility, right? And these are things that nobody told me. These are things that I was seeing and learning and watching and observing myself from the industry. What the hell is happening there on LinkedIn? What is there happening on Twitter? I talk to friends. I try to gather things. And that's why I have so much gossip. All this is essentially gossip that I've gotten, right? And I think that was probably one of the best decisions I made, going to a small team. And we also work in a small team. And I don't know how many of you know this, but of course, Apple is a huge company, but they believe in small teams because faster decision making, faster iterating, faster launching, faster testing, faster feedback. They don't take 4 hours. And even the project that I worked there for 2 years, and I worked on a very interesting project. And it was just like 4 of us, 2 engineers and 2 designers. We were the product managers, we were the designers, we were the engineers, we were everything, right? And we didn't want 100 different opinions. Obviously, we will go get feedback once we have done our job. But at the end of the day, we take the final call, right? And I understood the benefits and values of working in a small team, right? So I'm not saying that you shouldn't aim for these big brands and big companies. Definitely, it's fine. You can do it. But just know that your life isn't sorted. There are 100 different other problems over there, right? And this is so important. Like if I tell you the names of the companies, all of these are going to start making sense because then you'll go to social media and you'll start observing this yourself, right? But this is recorded. I want to come for part 3. Yeah. So that was the Trade Republic story. I just told you that. Okay. So this is about the team size. 4 more to go. All right. What is this? Okay, this is going to be fun. Okay. Now we're going to look at some screens. Okay. I don't know how many of you can actually see this, but maybe come closer if you can't. Can anybody tell me which app this screen is from? Yeah, so this is Swiggy Scenes, their new product. Yeah, agree? Yeah, I just took this from my phone. This one? Yeah, Zomato District. Yeah, so Swiggy Scenes, Zomato District. Any idea what I'm going to show next? Book My Show. Yeah. So, I'm showing you 3 screens over here, all right? Without giving you any context, I'm going to ask all of you one question. I don't care how you make this decision, all right? I'm just going to ask you one question. I'm not going to give any context. If you were given an opportunity today to work at any one of these companies, where would you want to work? Now, hold on. How many of you would want to work at Swiggy? You have only one choice. How many of you would want to work at Swiggy out of these three companies? One of you. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Raise together, no. Okay. Fine, maybe 10. Zomato district? Wow. Okay. Nice. Sponsors for next event. Okay. Book My Show. Ah, you guys want to work at Book My Show? Okay. Okay, so just anybody who chose Swiggy, any one person. Why did you choose Swiggy?
Because I have watched a lot of videos of the head designer of Swiggy.
So about Saptarshi.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I want to just.
So you like him, and that's why. I mean, not in. I mean, I'm just saying like you.
I just want to work under him.
Under him. Got it. Yeah, that's what I meant. Camera. Sorry. So yeah. Okay. Zomato. Yes. Last one. Go for it.
For me, Deepinder Goyal is the founder of Zomato.
Okay.
So I like his approach, like how he takes the any solution he wants to take.
Okay.
Interesting and he works like to getting into
Same. Saptarshi fanboy, Deepinder fanboy. Okay. Next. Book My Show. Yes. Or maybe who hasn't answered. Sir. Yes. Why do you think Book My Show?
I think it will be fun to work there. Like I see we can figure out more gaps, like where it can get better. So it will be fun to.
Oh, you're saying more opportunities. Okay, got it. Nice. This was not what I was expecting because for me, this was like, I have no idea what people are going to say. So, yeah. Okay. Before I move on to the next one, or maybe I should show you the previous slide because I want to make my point here. Now, I don't know how any of these companies work. I don't know how they make the decisions. So, all of the things I'm saying are assumptions and I may be totally wrong, right? I want to get that up front. But, so let's try to understand from a bigger picture, okay? Book My Show has been there for a very long period of time, for a very long period. And they understood that there is already a demand. We don't have to sell anything to users. We know what they want. Let's just build the product and make money from it. And that's what they've been doing. Scenes and District, new players. District came out, what, like 6 months ago, something like that, right? Now, my assumption is that Swiggy and Zomato are actually competing with each other than with Book My Show because Book My Show has already captured a very large market, has captured a very large part of the market. Now, why does Swiggy and Zomato look like this, but Book My Show look like that? It's very obvious to say that these two are more appealing apps. There's a lot more thought that's gone into it. There's a lot more personality and brand, but Book My Show still looks like an app, maybe made in 2015, right? Now, I'm not saying that Book My Show doesn't value design. I'm not making any judgments or claims over here. But what I can say is, if you were to join Book My Show today, there is a high chance that you will not get amazing projects to work on. Sure, my understanding is that Book My Show will go ahead and focus more on UX, more on metrics, conversions. They are probably more data focused. Swiggy and Zomato, maybe not that much because it's a new product. This is not their main source of income. Their main sources of income are totally different else. This is more of an experiment. And I don't even know if this is an experiment. They're going to play around with this and then they see what they're going to get out of it, right? And maybe they're going to introduce, like, for example, I don't think you can book movies from scenes. Maybe they're going to introduce that. If they can, then I don't really know. But of course, I don't use these products here. But yeah. So the point is, that even if you work for a good company, a big company, like I said, there is a chance that you will not get to work on amazing projects. And maybe at this point, you might want to work from Swiggy and Zomato because it's more visually appealing. You want to learn a lot more things than just designing and A/B testing things and design carousels and conversions and tooltips and stuff like that, right? Like I said, I'm not saying that these companies don't value design, but just because they do doesn't mean you will always get the opportunities you want. All right. Now, not convinced? If you're convinced, good. If not, let's take another example. Yeah, make my trip. I'm not saying anything. Indigo? Next one, guess. Goa Bibo, okay. Sorry? Clear Trip, okay. Booking.com, Air India, IRCTC. Ah, okay. Since when did they start flights? Okay. Air India. Now, before I get to the main point, there is one thing that I want to talk about. This is honestly a rant. I don't know how many of you people saw this on LinkedIn. I don't know if this happened on Twitter as well. There was this one interaction on Air India, on the Air India app, that people were going bonkers about. And there was so much noise and chatter about it. I was like, I have to really check this out. What are people so excited about Air India for, right? It's this interaction. And I'm like, why are people so fascinated about this carousel? And I don't know if Lollipop worked on this app, so apologize for that. But this is not about Lollipop. This is just about how designers are actually very obsessed. Like, it was so insane. I really was trying to think, Chetan, maybe you are wrong. Think about it deeply. There is something there in this. I was like, why are people so excited about this, right? And then, you know what? I downloaded the app and I thought, you know what? Let's actually check out this app. Obviously, because I live in Europe, I don't use these apps. All right, let's go. Let's review the UI, okay? 1, 2, 3. First, I thought these were tabs, but it's actually a progress bar. What am I supposed to do with 1, 2, 3? I don't really know. And it's not like people don't know how to book a flight. They know what it is, all right? Next step, modify booking. Why is that such a big CTA? Why? Are people idiots? Do they choose the wrong dates when they're coming here? Okay, then I just chose random places, Delhi and Amsterdam to Delhi. Why is this over here? Who chooses the second flight first? Okay, then you have the dates. This is a common pattern. Then you have select flight, which is a title, but many people thought it was a button. Okay, then you have currency converter. Why? First of all, it's not a converter. It is just currency of the flight ticket. It's not a converter, right? And then Air India, aren't you supposed to grab the location and automatically fill it or have it in settings or somewhere, right? I'm sure with AI in the picture, we don't need this, right? And then economy, business class, fine. And 3 flights found from your trip. Now, this is an iPhone 16. I took this screenshot from my phone. I have to do one entire scroll to see the first card. And people are getting excited about a carousel. And this really that day bothered me so much. Like, what the hell is happening to designers in India? Has the bar come so low that we are getting excited about a damn carousel? But this is the core experience. 95% of the people are not going to scroll and even look at the carousel. They're automatically going to book a flight. They're going to tab destination, dates, and they're going to come here. So what is so groundbreaking about that carousel that Air India did? Maybe they had so low expectations for Air India that because Air India did a carousel, people got excited. Maybe. Never know. All right. So let's do the, make my trip. Okay, make my trip again. This is what I call as a North Indian thali. Okay. So yeah, enjoy. Slow-mo. Okay. What in the world am I supposed to focus on over here? Like what in the world? What is all this? Lock this price, emoji, flight show, check-in baggage, MMT Connect, Qatar Airways down. Why is Qatar I don't know, right? Now, I don't want to say too much or else, yeah. So, the point I'm trying to make here is that all of these companies have to value design. They have to. It is a crucial part of their experience. But they are not. And this is not, now, I don't know how these companies work. I don't know how many designers they have. I don't know what their priorities are. I don't know what their decisions are. So if I comment on something, I'm a bad guy. But let me prove something to you. At the end of the day, how do these companies make money? Commission flights or whatever, right? They have some, I don't know exactly, but obviously they have a platform and then they get some money out of it for doing it, and maybe they play ads as well. Now, when I went to Europe, I've had to use a whole new range of apps for everything. For transportation, for cab services, for groceries, for ticket booking, everything else. Now, let me show you booking.com. This is what I use on a regular basis for booking flights and hotels. Much cleaner UI, very clear. Even though it's an iPhone 16, the cards are pretty big, but I'm able to see 2 full cards at the same time. No noise, very well thought through. Omeo. Swiggy if it had blue color or purple color. Right? What more information do you need? This is more than enough. This is an app called Hopper. Their specialty is that they'll tell you when the flights are cheaper and when they're more expensive so that you can plan your dates. We'll just come this side. 6 cards. Now I can go into the depths of all of this and explain why this is better than the others, right? And I'm sure all of you can do it as well. It's not rocket science. But why are foreign apps like this and Indian apps like that? These companies also make money the same way the other companies do. So then why are Indian apps not willing to take the extra mile? This is Trade Republic. This is our app. Now, when I joined Trade Republic, I was very clear about one thing. When I started interviewing after I was leaving Apple, I wanted to work in fintech. Because that's an industry I like: math, numbers, logic, problem solving, finance. I have a good subject matter knowledge as well, because obviously I did CA and all of that. So I wanted to work in fintech. I was very obsessed with working in it. So all the companies I applied to were fintech companies across Europe: Switzerland, Amsterdam, Netherlands, UK, Germany, everywhere. Because I knew that in India, fintech, cred is the only thing that is doing something. I don't even know, we'll probably speak to Atul tomorrow and figure out what's happening. But none of the other fintechs apps in India are even doing anything big. I think maybe Zerodha is pretty fine, but I think Zerodha is done. It's not like they're innovating much further with design anymore. And if I really want to work in fintech, where do I go? And I only thought the only option is to go abroad, because Indian apps are not taking normal flight booking seriously. How are they going to take finance seriously, right? And this is actually how it looks today. This is not how it looked when I joined. We did a complete fresh revamp and redesign of the entire app. And I can probably show you guys later, of course, because it's not available online and you can't download it in India. I can show you a couple of things. And you can see that there is some amount of finesse. There is some thought that has gone into it, right? Of course, every app has UX problems, right? And not every app is perfect. But at an overall first glance, you can see that this is not a bad app, right? And for me, one thing that really, really mattered to me was that I want the company to be design driven and it should actually matter. Like, I want it to matter. And especially in fintech, because it is a digital platform, there is no physical bank, a customer's trust is solely dependent on what they see inside the app. So it has to be top notch. And I made sure that that's why I want to work in fintech, because there is no physical middleman or there is nothing physical. Everything is digital, and I want to be a designer who is going to cater to every part of the app, and I want to give my best, right? I want to put a couple more things. I launched that gifting feature. I don't know how many of you saw the case study, but we used Rive and did a couple of cool stuff, right? So the whole point of explaining all of this is just because a company values design or is supposed to value design doesn't mean you will get the opportunities to grow there, right? Now, if I come back to, let's say, Make My Trip or any of these other platforms that are there, they are design driven, but you can clearly see that they don't want to give you those opportunities for some reason. I don't know what those reasons are, but fine, whatever those reasons are, let it be. but you will not get great projects to work on. And this is from an outsider's perspective who has no idea of the functioning of the company. And maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe if somebody actually told me, Chetan, you're wrong. The reason we don't do this or don't do that is what engineering issues. We want to focus on A/B testing. God knows. I understand, right? They may be right in their sense, but that doesn't mean you will get good benefits out of it. Doesn't mean you will try to get the job you want to do. If you want to do amazing things and you want to do all these visual things, creative things, joining a company like Book My Show or Make My Trip may not give you that opportunity, right? But yes, those companies do pay well, right? So you have to make a call, right? What do you want to go behind? And I'm going to talk about this towards the end, right? So hard work, passion, learning strategy, growth mindset, team size, and opportunities. I only chose finance and outside India because I wanted good opportunities. It's not that the work I did at Apple and Unacademy was bad. It was good. But I wanted something even more challenging. I didn't want, like, obviously money is important, but it's like, I don't mind taking less money for great opportunities. That is the type of guy I am. And I'm not saying everybody should be that. It's your life, your choice, that's okay. When I was working at Unacademy, I worked there for a year and a half. And most of my learning actually came from the designers I worked with. I think we were a very small team. And there was the senior designer, and he was the one who really coached me and mentored me. And to be very honest, if I'm standing here, I will give all my credits to that guy, right? And he has no social media presence. He doesn't care about fame, social media, content, nothing. And he's a very simple, straightforward guy, goes to office, does his stuff, goes back home, right? And most of my learning, I would say probably 90% of design, craft, fundamentals of design, basic knowledge of working with engineers, product, all came from him. Then I joined Apple. In Apple, again, we were a very small team. And I actually understood at Apple how a big, large company makes decisions. How do intelligent people think? It is fascinating to observe them, right? Like Sam Altman, Elon Musk, whoever, you guys aspire. It's so fascinating to just watch them talk and understand how are these guys so intelligent? What makes an intelligent person? And that's what I saw at Apple. Really, really smart, talented people. And we were 2 engineers and we were 2 designers in that one product that we built. And it was so fascinating to see how these super, super duper smart people work. And these guys are way more experienced than I am, like super experienced. Like the engineers there, they have really good knowledge and understanding of design, right? So if I don't have to over explain or sell them, if I show them 3 iterations, they know which one I will pick, right? That's how good they are. So I understood a lot of things about Apple. I didn't really learn design that much. All right. Of course, I work with the human interface guidelines. We have our own UI kit inside Apple that is made for designing Apple products. So I understood a little bit about how a design system is built. I understood how engineering decisions are made. It's pretty fun. Then I moved to Trade Republic. This June, I'll complete 3 years. I think that's the longest I've ever been in a company. And one thing that I want to say is that 70% of my growth has not come from the designers I worked with. 70% of my knowledge and growth has come from the product managers that I've worked with. And this is one thing that I really realized is that, maybe I'll just put the slide instead of telling you, the PMs you work with matter the most. It's bold and it's big because it is so important that for you to succeed in your career, you have to work with a really, really good PM. It is super important. And I'm using the word PM over here, but I'm saying product owner, CEO, whoever is responsible for that, right? I'm not saying an actual PM. Because only to a certain point in life can you actually learn design and craft, right? And then you will hit your limit. Like today, I feel like I've hit my limit about design, where I can only learn 10% more, 20% more, because that's all I'm capable of. I can't do super fancy, crazy 3D things and this WebGL. I can't do all of those stuff. I don't know, I just can't do it. So I know that I've hit a limit of where I've sort of maxed out. Maybe not maxed out, but I'm very close to my threshold of my design skills. But this, working with PMs, is a whole new world altogether. And this has really shaped my product thinking. It has shaped how I make decisions. It shaped how I think about product. It shaped every single thing. And to be very honest, 90% of my work happens when I'm not designing screens. It is all happening here. I am thinking about things all the time. And when I sit down to design is when I've already thought of everything. And I'm happy that I've reached that stage where I don't really have to focus learning the craft every single day, because I've passed that phase and I've figured out how to learn something related to design if I have to learn something. For example, learning Rive and Play and all of these new tools, I've figured out how to learn them, right? I know what works for me. But this product, data, metrics, if you want to be an entrepreneur in the future, how to make decisions, how a company defines what metrics are important to them, why they change the metrics, how do these measure? There are so many questions. And it is important for you as a product designer to know, because we cannot be designing screens for the rest of our lives, right? Things are changing so fast. Yes, it is one thing that we are specialized in, which is why we have to do. We know to use Figma better than anybody else in the company, but that's not what we're actually hired to do, right? I work so closely with my PM that I have a one-on-one with my design manager. And of course, we have a design team, we share feedback, we do all of that. But 20% of my learning, my taste has completely changed. Today, if I go and look at my portfolio, I'll probably puke. It's really bad. My taste has totally changed. It has totally changed my taste, right? So today, if I were to design something, I have a totally different visual idea of how I want it to look. But when you work with PMs, you'll understand a lot more things that a product designer needs to know, right? And one big problem that I see across the world in designers is that even after 5-6 years, people are still learning the fundamentals of design and they're learning how to make things. And I've seen, I don't want to take any names or here or anything, but I see people posting, screenshots on social media about what they worked in their company, just single things. And I'm like, this is not great for a designer who has 5 years experience. This is somebody who has 2 years of experience also can do this. So you feel that after having 6 years of experience, this is good. I think you're still learning design, and you cannot be learning design after a long period of time, because then when the hell will you learn all these other skills, right? Who's going to give you the opportunity to learn these other skills? If you say I have 6 years of experience, that means something, right? It means something. You need to have a lot more information and knowledge than just designing screens. So, and this is something that I picked up at Unacademy as well and Trade Republic as well. And obviously with my friends as well, they tell me, Chetan, my PM is so amazing. My PM is a rock star. They are the ones who will really teach you everything that you as a designer don't know. And that is super important. And so maybe I can put across a point here is that even in good companies, there are bad PMs. Even in good companies, there are good PMs. Even in bad companies, there are good PMs. And I've seen a lot of stories, I've heard a lot of stories where even if the company is not great, even if the company doesn't make a lot of money, even if they don't value design, sometimes they work with product managers who are really smart. Maybe they came from some IIT or they did some big course. Fine, they don't understand design, but they have really strong product knowledge. So at the end of the day, I tell people, if you're not learning design, at least are you learning with a good PM? Do you have a good product manager? And that could be your CEO, whoever he is, whoever is making product decisions, who is going to lead and push the product into the market. Who is that? If you're stuck in a company and you're not learning design, at least are you learning something on the product side of it? If it is, maybe saturate that, learn as much as you can, because you have to be learning something at the end of the day, right? Getting a good PM early on in your career is pretty difficult and you have to be, honestly, you have to be lucky to get it, right? And you have no control over who you work with, right? So this is one thing I want all of you to keep in mind, right? Cool. One of the biggest curse, which I say, and this has happened to me, I'm sure it has happened to all of you. If it has not happened, it will happen to you. I'm telling you this right now, is the biggest curse is working with premature leaders. And the reason I say that product managers are so key to your growth and success is that they will essentially decide what projects you get to work on. They will decide what gets shipped into the market. Like, let's take an example, right? Let's take that Air India example. The whole screen. Now, I don't know if I should blame the designer, the PM, or if I should blame the CEO of Air India, right? And it's also not my job to blame. But somebody made a decision saying that that screen is okay. Somebody made that decision. Now, I clearly know that's not the right decision. But if you as a designer suggested and told the PM this is wrong, and the PM said, it's okay, let's do this, and you ship this out, who's going to blame? I mean, if we were to blame, we would essentially blame the designer, saying, bro, you designed this app, what does this screen do? Right? But it was not even his fault. He's like, I told the PM this is shit design, this doesn't make sense. But the PM said, client wants it, PM said this, PM said that. So the point I'm trying to say here is that inside a company, there are so many things that happen. And I've seen the worst part of PMs as well. I've worked with really bad PMs. And I'll tell you I don't know when I want to share the story, but I'll share it. And I think I love the story so much that day it totally changed my perspective. And that's why I'm telling you that in the first few years of your career, yes, you work with designers, you learn the craft. But then later on, that's not what is going to push you 10 years later and make you have a good career. Right? And if I were to put this sentence into layman terms, it is essentially working with managers who are promoted too early. That's about it. Right? They have no management skills. They themselves don't understand the craft. They are terrible at giving feedback. They come to you with half-assed scope. If you question them, they don't know how to get the information. They don't take responsibility. Yeah, and you're a senior PM, design manager, whatever. There are plenty of stories I've heard. Right? I've seen this in good companies. I've seen this in bad companies. It's not specific to company, right? At the end of the day, it's your luck where you end up in, right? Which is why I'm also saying that hard work and passion is not going to get you far in life. There are a lot more of these other factors that are going to matter. Okay, so listen up, backbenchers. I got a message from this person on LinkedIn and I'm going to read it out. Hey Chetan, I hope you're doing well. I work in a design team of, I'm not going to name the company, it's a known brand. And I've been struggling with stakeholder management since the past 4 years. So for the past 4 months, I've worked with multiple PMs in the same organization for about 1.5 years, and I've had a very healthy relationship with all of them. But since the past 4 months, I found myself struggling with it when I started working with the latest PM. Earlier, I used to feel that he is rude and overconfident and just wants to get his work done through a designer anyhow. And there have been times where after meeting with him, I have broken down and cried. But after analyzing the situation calmly, I realized that there could be ways to handle it better, which I am not aware of. And she came to me with this problem. Now, I had faced a very similar situation in Unacademy, and I'm so happy that I went through that terrible experience, because that really that really gave me a big fat reality check, and it told me how to really work in corporate and what you need to do. So I actually got on a call with her, which I usually don't do because usually I'll just reply with a text and end it. But because I faced this problem myself, I could empathize. And I got on a call with her and I asked her what happened. I took all the details and I gave her some advice. I was like, this is what I did at Unacademy. Try doing this for yourself. Okay? Couple months later, she texted me back. Hey Chetan, remember you had helped me tackle a difficult stakeholder a few months back? Wanted to let you know that sending minutes of the meetings literally after every meeting with that PM in a group where all other stakeholders are involved in the project, including his and my manager, solved all my headaches. Basically what I told her is keep him accountable, don't let him play you. Now he thinks before speaking anything. If we have contrary opinions and are unable to come to a conclusion within ourselves, I create a rough mock of both solutions and either paste them in the group or schedule a quick meet between everyone to close it the same day. Now when I look back, it wasn't that difficult to handle. I think I've become much more confident after this whole experience. How many of you have faced something like this before? Nice. Good, good, good. Failures, suffering. It's good, it's good. Now her image in office would have been much better. She has now gained trust. She has now gained respect. She knows how to handle people. If I had not given her this advice, I'm not saying that she would have not found some other way, but if she had, let's say, not even reached out to help, she would have not gotten good projects. The PM is going to blame her. She's not going to grow in her career. She's going to get stuck. She's going to get shit from her PM all the time, right? And that is not good. But she's working in a very big company that all of us know, and I'm not going to name the company, Very, very big company. All right. Which is why there's nothing to do with design over here. There's nothing to do with design. It's just that the PM you work with has a very high significance on your success. That's about it. And this is something that I've only realized after joining Trade Republic. And I'll tell you something. When I joined Trade Republic, when I interviewed with them, I applied for a senior product designer role. And they liked me. They liked all my work, this, that, whatever. And when they were giving the offer letter, they said, we can't give you a senior role. We can give you one level below, but we feel you have potential. Now I decided to say, okay, you know what, screw it. I don't care about title. I like the company. I like the opportunities. I want to get into this company. And it's been 3 years. And today I realize why they didn't give me that senior role. And today I can tell myself, thank God I didn't take that senior role. Because I realized their definition of senior was so high that I've had to work so hard on so many projects and really completely transform my understanding of design to earn that senior title. I still don't have that title, by the way. Super close, should happen. Yeah, super close should happen. But that's not something that I even think about. And now I realize that that's why when my friends working in these big brands say, Chetan, half these senior designers are clowns, I can clearly understand why they're clowns, because they got promoted in 2 to 3 years. You cannot be a senior designer in 2 to 3 years. It's a goddamn joke, right? If you stay in that company for the rest of your life, you're sorted. But the moment you want to step out with a senior title, you're basically getting into Hunger Games. So that was about people. 2 more to go. Should we take a quick break or should we finish it off? Finish. No intermission. Okay, let's go. So I've got 10 things on the screen. Magic tricks, origami, piano, football, Lego, Rubik's Cube, puzzles, video games, badminton, acting, filmmaking, table tennis. Okay. Now, all these are hobbies. Yeah. How many of you have, or let me rephrase. How many of you today or over your life have had anyone, or maybe how many of you have had all 10 of these hobbies in your life? At some point in time, you are pursuing something. All 10. No. Maybe 8. 8 of these hobbies. 8 of these hobbies, nice. Well, 8 of these hobbies, nice, okay. In your entire life, at some point in time. You can't have all these hobbies today, it doesn't make sense. 6, 7, 6, 7. Yeah, 5. Okay, got it. So I would say what? 5, 6, average, similar. These are all the hobbies that I've had in my life over a period of time. I don't pursue all of them today. Today, I think only video games and badminton is the only thing that I do. But I've done all of these things, and maybe I've become a Lego person. Lego is big in Europe, so yeah. So these are the 3 things that I'm doing. But over a point in time, I think magic tricks was my first hobby. I was doing this to impress people in school. I don't know, whatever, right? But there's a reason why I like these hobbies and I wanted to pursue them, and you didn't, I'm sure. And dancing, singing is not here because I was not interested in that. The thing is that if we were to take, I'm trying to explain my point in the form of a, chart or a graph or whatever. These are all the skills we are given by God. This is what we are born with, right? Or born with, or cultivated over a period of time, whatever, right? And this is what a profession requires. So essentially, you do match the following, okay? And what you end up with is this. So this is, let's say, an ideal scenario of a designer. Let's say half of the skills they have and half they don't have, because it is just so by luck that the profession you got into requires the skills that you have or you are capable of learning, right? There are three things I want to talk about. Skills can be self-learned. There are certain things you can learn on your own. And I'm not saying that there is no other person to help you. Of course, there could be mentors, teachers, whatever. But to learn any skill in life, all right, or any game, sport, whatever it is, YouTube, a real human being, whatever it is, right? Let's say you can't learn dancing by watching videos online. You can learn to play video games by watching videos online, right? So there's a different way, and you can learn the skill. Then you can learn from others, and this is essentially trying to observe from them, watch them. I mean, sure, they could be teaching you something itself, but you're mainly learning from other people's mistakes and their successes and things like that, right? And you see, okay, how did they do this? How did they do that, right? For example, the whole Ghibli thing that happened, I mean, I'm not saying it's a skill, but somebody did it and then the whole country started to do it, right? And there are skills that cannot be learned. Make peace with this fact. There are certain skills that cannot be learned. I cannot learn to code no matter how hard I try. I don't know why. It's just that I can't code. I have given it a fair shot. It's not for me. So anything to do with Cursor, Lovable, AI, Bolt, not for me. Sorry, right? When AI comes, I'll figure something out. Okay? Not now. There was this reel that I was watching. It's basically day in the life of a Disney animator. All right? Any of you seen this reel? No? No? Yeah, it's just a quick 90-second reel where this guy is showing his day in life of a Disney animator, and half the reel is just coffee and snacks and lunch and all of that. And the only point where he says is that essentially he starts his day by going into this meeting where they have to discuss so essentially he's a storyboard artist, so he's the guy who draws and gives it to the 3D animators, and they go in the morning, and then there's this meeting, and if the producers, directors have changed the storyline, they get to know what is the change in the story, and so then that affects this. And then so he said, in one day, my job, like his job, is to design 12 frames, which is essentially 1 second. So you go to office to design 12 frames, which is 1 second. That's your job. And he loves that. I can never do that. The only reason I didn't think of going to NID to do masters when I started my career was because they wanted you to draw. I said, no, I cannot draw. You are not going to test me in drawing skills. I am not going to give this NID exam. Now, the reason he can do that and I cannot do that is because we have different skills. He luckily has the skills that Disney wants. I don't have those skills. And no matter how hard I try, I can be some good drawer, but I can never be as good as him, right? Maybe you can watch that reel if you find it online. It should not be difficult to find. So, coming back to the skills thing, right? These are all the skills that you have, which is matching with the skill the industry requires. But when people are starting off in their career, they start off like this. Because there is nothing in this world that can prepare us for this profession, because this profession itself is new, right? So we have not trained ourselves to build the skills or the thinking or the pattern or the experiences, the eye for design, whatever it is, to be able to meet. So we essentially start off like this. But there are some people who start off like this, with one skill, one. And I don't blame them. It's just that you are different, bro. God gave you different skills. That's about it. So, you want to go from there to here in 3 months, 6 months. Get into a good company as an industry standard product designer. Photo, go, go, go. People ask me this, how do I become better at problem solving? How do I become more creative? How do I build a competitive edge? I don't know, dude. I don't know how to give you these answers. Even if I tell you do these 5 things, it may not work for you. How I learned product thinking is different. It's not just I can just sit and figure out everything myself. I need to work with good people as well. And I was fortunate enough to get that opportunity. Maybe you were not fortunate enough. Figure out something else, right? And this question, how do I build a competitive edge? It's not a question you should be asking ever in your life, right? Because if you actually think about it, people who know how to learn will never ask all of these questions. People who have a growth mindset will never ask any of these questions because they know what they're working towards. And building a competitive edge is not going to get you a better job because of one thing, which is the fundamental skills will never change. Figure out this first. The first 3 to 4 years, focus on this. Go where you can learn this. Figure it out somehow. Everybody's life is different. You have to try so many things to figure out where can you learn the fundamental skills online. Maybe you need a mentor. Maybe you want to go to design school. Maybe you want to get into a better company. Figure it out. Try whatever works. But if you figure this out, you have already built yourself a competitive edge. You take it from me. You want a competitive edge? Get your fundamentals right in order. That's the only thing I can say. That's why I said, right? Most of my designers who work in these big brands call the senior designers as clowns because they got promoted too early, somehow got lucky, somehow had a good relationship with their manager, got promoted, but their fundamental skills are terrible. Somehow they got into the industry 5 years ago. Somehow, right? Oof, crazy. Now, there are 4 skills that I want to talk about, which is something that truly separates a seasoned senior designer over other designers. The first one, pretty obvious, solve really complex problems. Really solve complex problems. I don't know how many of you have tried doing a healthcare app as a project for your case study. That is probably the worst project to have. Healthcare, mental health is such a complex problem to solve. You as a junior designer starting with one skill are in no position to solve that problem statement, right? I'm just giving an example of what a complex problem looks like. Example, just one. Technical knowledge. You don't know how, you don't need to know how to code. Today, like I said, I don't like coding, I cannot code, but I have a very strong technical knowledge of when engineers speak to me. And it's very hard to give an example, to be very honest, because probably I have to show you something and explain. I don't have any example on top of my mind. But understanding how a product is built from an engineering standpoint is super important. What happens behind the scenes is super important. And this is not, I mean, maybe if you have done engineering, you can probably have some knowledge and you can build upon it, but not everybody is given that luxury and you have to work with good engineers to do it, right? And let's say even if you want to use AI tools today, there is no AI tool that can let somebody go from, let anybody create a great app from scratch. You need technical knowledge. There is a lot more things than just typing a prompt and getting a full-fledged app. And maybe you guys will ask me this question today, but my thoughts of AI is, you guys have heard of this thing where they say 0 to 1, 1 to 10, 10 to 100, right? AI tools can only take you from 0 to 0.2. That's it. That's the stage we are in. To go from 0.2 to 1 or 1 to 10, you need technical skills, right? And that is why I am not scared of AI at all, because I have seen the work we do. I know how big companies build products. AI is in no position to take off any of our jobs. If you are an indie developer trying to make your own app with some basic knowledge of coding, that's it. That's 0.2. The moment you want to build into a big brand company, get a big engineering team, AI cannot do that, at least today, right? Maybe something will change, but I'm talking about today's status. Speed versus efficiency. This is essentially how fast you can work and design screens versus maintaining quality, right? And this is a skill that I have really sort of, I don't want to use the word mastered, but really honed so much in just 3 years. 3 years in Trade Republic has really honed my ability to work so quickly. And it's not about, auto layout and stuff like that. Creating a rock solid flow with edge cases, thinking about what information to convey to engineers, what information to convey to product, where creating multiple flows so that you have different versions to show, and you have to work very fast and make sure you do a good job. And I'm fortunate enough to have mastered, I mean, again, I don't want to use the word mastered, but sort of honed the skill because I've worked on so many projects. And at Trade Republic, they focus on creating and building fast with really good policy. I mean, I showed you the app. There is a lot of effort that's gone into it, right? And this is not just for designers. Even engineers and product managers are also expected to work with speed and efficiency, right? And the last one, probably my favorite one, is what I call as context switching. Because as you grow in your career and you become a senior designer, your ability to switch context needs to change. Your ability to switch context needs to be really good. And this is something, again, that I've learned at Trade Republic, where I'm always like, when I start my day, I have no idea what's going to happen that day. I know my to-dos for the day, but engineers are going to come with some random project, some random problem. Some PM is going to reach out to me saying with something they want help with this and that, because where I'm working, a lot of other teams are also involved. And so now, suddenly from one meeting, I have to completely switch context, get that really quickly, and remember everything about that other project that I handed off 2 months ago, right? And this again will only come through experience. Now, the reason I'm saying that these 4 skills are so important is if you're still learning Figma after 6 years, when are you going to learn all this? When? Right? And so if you're still being a designer, learning Figma, getting your fundamentals straight, starting to really get into product or whatever, it's already too late, right? And I'm not blaming the people here, I'm blaming the companies, I'm blaming the industry as well. I showed you the various apps, I showed you Make My Trip, all of that, right? They are not giving you opportunities. And if you want opportunities, you're not getting it. Maybe you have potential, maybe you don't. There are so many problems that exist today, and it's hard to fix these problems unless somebody comes and puts an entrance exams to get into design, right? Which, I mean, now even degrees are not even considered as a factor for getting a job today, right? And I mean, no disrespect to anybody who's done masters or anything, but I'm just pointing out something that you already know. Over the past few years, you might have seen people who have gone to US, done masters, sort of maybe not complaining, but sharing their problems that they're not getting jobs, even after doing masters. I've seen a lot on LinkedIn, right? So even having a degree doesn't prove anything anymore today, at least, right? So these 4 skills. Okay, last one, pretty short, very straightforward, just a friendly advice to everyone. And then I want to end it with something very important. How many of you have been on a solo trip? Anyone? Okay, where did you go? Yeah. Mahabaleshwar, okay. Himachal. Anybody else? Yeah. Kedarnath. Rishikesh. Kodaikanal. Thailand, no? Outside India, anybody? Yes. Dubai solo trip. Okay. Sydney solo trip. Oh, nice. Vietnam solo trip. Okay. You say Thailand, I'll make sure to not show your face, whatever. Okay. Nice, solo trip. I did my first solo trip to Italy before COVID, just before COVID. How many of you like driving cars? Okay. How many of you have ever driven a very high luxury car, like a really high luxury one? First of all, Emirates premium airline, business class, even more premium. Now, if you are a designer who has never understood or felt what it is to be luxurious, you can only design a user flow with no personality to it. Because you don't know how it is to feel luxurious. And life experiences teaches you and shows you things that you don't know. And this is something that I think a lot of people should do. And if you're lucky enough to have experienced a lot of things throughout your childhood, good for you. If not, then you have to start doing that. To be very honest, in my entire life, I only started to experience the world after I became a designer. Until then, it was only school, college, studies, exams, that's it, right? I didn't know what were the various cuisines out there. I didn't know where were the various restaurants. I didn't know what was Indiranagar Church Street because I was brought up in a very different type of household. And only once I became a designer did I start going to office and started seeing things that I realized that I actually enjoy all of these life experiences. Yes, they cost money. I get it. They cost money. But start with something. Start with something. No? I'm sure there are free life experiences that you can get, right? It could be as random as doing a bungee jump somewhere. Try to feel everything. The more you experience and put yourself in those situations and you understand how it is to feel scared, feel luxurious, feel premium, feel bored, feel lonely, you'll understand how to solve for other people. It just gives you a much, and I can't prove this. This is just psychology. I cannot show you anything to prove all this. It's just that it will give your brain, it will open up your brain to more things and make you think about things more. You want to be a big problem solver, become better at problem solving, start doing this. When you go abroad, and which I did, and I lived alone, now I have my own, I live in my rented place, I have to take care of everything myself, right? I'm living alone, I have to take care of my personal life, my health, my fitness, my career, everything. The whole world is new to me. And I have a very big understanding of how India works. And now when I go to Germany and I work there, everything is different. So it's opened my brain to so many new things. The way airports work, the way cab services work. And I realized Indians are completely spoiled. I mean, you guys can give like a Myntra return or an Amazon return like this. In Germany, at least, you have to go give it yourself. You have to pack it, you have to go to the post office and deposit it yourself. I'm like, why is India like this, but why is Europe like that, right? You can't get anything with offers over there. Nothing. Companies don't give a shit. They say, you want offers? Wait for New Year's, wait for Black Friday, we'll give it. We will not give you coupons, we will not give you anything. Here, it's become a habit. With everything, there is a coupon, right? And I came here and I was doing a lot of shopping and my sister told me, why are you paying the full price? I'm like, what else should I pay? Right? She's like, no, check if there's some app discount, this, that. What are you talking about? Because I'm so used to paying things without, without any discounts over there, right? So it just opens up your brain and your thinking to everything. You just ponder a lot more. You just think a lot more. And you can only do that if you learn to experience and feel, because this is something new to your brain and your body. You need to realize that. And I'm not saying that today you should go and do something. Slowly plan something, try to do different things. Being in Europe, I have the luxury of going to multiple different countries. It's very easy. I don't need a visa, right? But I try to make sure I try to visit at least 2 countries every year. I want to learn and experience something. I may not enjoy it, but I want to experience it so that maybe I'll gain something out of it. Maybe regarding the culture, maybe regarding the food, maybe regarding the people. I don't know. I just need to feed my brain with more information that'll help me understand things. It'll open up my brain. I'll think a little bit more before making any decision or deciding something, right? I cannot explain the long-term benefits and how this interrelates to your career. It just works, right? And I'm sure all the other people as well, if you agree with what I'm saying, that means you've experienced it and you know that what I'm saying is true, right? Okay, so life experiences. So let's do a recap. Okay. Hard work, passion, learning strategy, growth mindset, team size, opportunities, people, skills, and life experiences. Now, these are the 3 things that are not in your control. Destiny, manifestation, luck, call it whatever you want. This is not in your control. The people you end up working with, the opportunities you get, and the company size, and essentially company size, opportunities, you can combine them into one. But these are all the things that are in your control. You can control the life experiences. You can control the skills you want to learn. Partially, yeah, because there are some skills you can't learn. You can develop the growth mindset yourself. You can identify the learning strategy. Passion and hard work, pretty obvious. So, if these 6 factors are in your control, it means that if you don't make use of these 6 things, you cannot rely on these things for success. This is more like this. It's like these secret loot that you get in games. You have to have controlled all the things you can so that when bad things happen over here, you will still be able to move forward in your career because you can rely on skills, you can rely on growth mindset, you can rely on passion and hard work. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there are basically 3 progress bars, I would say. Opportunities, people, money. Now, I'm going to show you what I chose between these 3 things over my career. When I worked at Unacademy, let me start again. The goal is to maximize all of this, right? Everybody wants to maximize opportunities, want to work with good, smart people, and cha-ching, right? So let me show you now how my career has been like. I started off at Unacademy with a very low salary, but I got to work on a lot more cool projects. I got to work with a lot of cool people, but I'll give more points to projects, right? I got to work on from web, landing pages, mobile apps. I did a lot of stuff with Lottie. I did a bunch of things. Dark mode for the entire app. I came up with that in the beginning. So I got to work on a lot of cool projects. And my goal was, I didn't really care about money. Like I said, for me, knowledge and work was more important. So opportunities and people, that's what I chose. And then when you go to Apple, obviously you got a big pay bump, pretty obvious. And I got to work on only one project, so less points for opportunities. And I work with really smart people, like super smart. I was like just jaw-dropping in every meeting, right? And I can share a story after the camera is, or the recording is done. A fun story at Apple, okay? So this was at Apple, right? And then now at Trade Republic, it's this. I'm getting paid fairly well, no complaints over that. People, super smart, insane opportunities. The amount of things that I worked on in just 3 years, some people will take 10 years to work that much. I don't know how, but this company just gave me the opportunity to work on so many different types of projects, top to bottom. It is insane. I've designed internal tools. I've designed tools for our customer support agents, design systems, Rive, advanced prototyping, multiple parts of the app I've touched. I've worked on so many different things. I have a huge list of things. And this is essentially what I wanted. I wanted to work in a fintech company that gives me all these things. Now, let's talk about other people. Everybody wants opportunities, working with good people, and money. That's not possible. Unless you are absolutely lucky, this is not possible, at least today. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. You have to choose one or two of this, right? And where you are in your skill set, where you are in your luck quota, depends on which of these two you get. All right. So let's come back here, right? So let's say you're starting off with this. This is what you're starting off with. And in today's market, people end up going this route. Okay. I might offend a small percentage of people over here, but I want to be very respectful and I want to be I'm doing it as a favor for you. One of the types of people, and I've gotten a lot of questions from people also, and this category of people are essentially founding designers. Okay? If I don't understand why you chose that, but you keep your reasons. Maybe you had financial crisis, maybe you didn't have any other opportunities. Fine, go for it, right? And I always tell people the first 3 years, make whatever decisions you want. Just take whatever you can get. And then second year, third year, try to figure out your shit together, right? Try to get some stability. Make sure you are in a position because first 3 to 4 years matter the most. First year, you don't have much control. Once you get into the industry, you should start building that sense of control here and there, right? I understand everybody's life is different. But if people are founding designers for 3 years or 4 years, I don't understand how that happened. Who are you learning from? How do you have the skills to be a founding designer? It makes no sense to me. Why are you doing that? Maybe go founding designer 1 year. That's it. 1 year, 1.5 max. What else are you learning there? Is your company, has it become a unicorn? No. Why are you a founding designer there? How are you learning? It doesn't make sense to me. And they become a founding designer because you have leverage that they are willing to hire only you, and so you can ask for more money. And this is not just for founding designers, this is for a large majority of people as well. They go behind money. Now, I have nothing against money. If you want money, please go for it. Your life is different than mine. You know what makes sense for you. But you need to know the consequences of this. Let's fast forward 3 years in the future, right? Obviously, you've gotten more money. Maybe they've hired more people. You've got to work with better people. And then you have opportunity. And then you also worked on some decent projects, let's say. But you've gotten more money. Now, here's the thing. Now, you tell that you are saturated. You want to work in a bigger company. You're scared of AI. You feel you're not growing. Fair. I understand that you want to grow more and the current company isn't giving you what you want. And also 3 years in a company is a long time. You want to change. The problem is that these two things will stop moving after a certain point in time. It's sort of like rock solid. The reason is because if you want opportunities and people, you want more money as well. But how are people going to give you money and you want a good job, you want to work in a good company, you want a good startup, but your opportunities and people, the people you work with, not enough. So, now this becomes a big decision-making factor, midlife crisis. What do I do? Because you can only control 1 or 2 of these things. You cannot control. And how you start this graph defines where you end up. And so the only way to solve this is to do this. Are you willing to do this? Are you willing to take less money, maybe start again from a junior role, maybe a PD1, maybe PD 1.5, maybe, and willing to work in a smaller company? Most people don't want to do this. Yeah, it hurts your ego, respect from family, whatever, all these other factors. But you did this to yourself, right? Pin drop silence. I want to share a story over here. Like I said, I've been doing so many one-on-one sessions and I don't want to share any names in here and that. There was this designer who reached out and she basically explained her problem, saying that, so she has a senior title in her role, so she's a senior product designer. And I think she has around 3.5 years of experience. And then she said, hey, Chetan, I'm working in this company. I've been applying to other companies. I've been applying to a lot of good brands and I'm getting a lot of interviews. But for some reason, they keep rejecting me. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if there's something wrong with me. I don't know if there's something wrong with the company. I don't know what's happening. And so she said, I want to present to you my work and I want to give feedback. I said, okay. So she presented her work and the company she's currently in is her second company, not her first company. And she said, and she presented the work of her first company. And I didn't question anything as to why she's not presenting the work of the company she's currently in. I asked her all of this later. So she took me through this project, everything. She articulated it very well, good presentation, fairly decent problem to solve. I had no problems with that. And then I told her at the end, after going through everything, now I understand where's the disconnect. You are earning a certain amount of money as a senior product designer. You have the word senior to it. But the project you showed me is, if you never told me who you are or how many years of experience you have, I would have guessed you have 8 months of experience. With 8 months of experience, this is a fairly decent project for anybody to have. Takes a good amount of time. And I tell this to everybody, this happens, this is a general thing. I have this ratio which is like 1:4 or 1:5. For every 3-4 projects that are not worth putting on your portfolio, you will get one project that is worth putting. And that's how it works in every company as well, right? You will always have some highlight key projects and some stuff which you feel like it's not worth showing. It's good, but it's not worth showing because they don't feel that complex, right? And so with 8 months, you will only get one project by luck, if you can, which is a key project. And now you have been a designer for 3 years. You have a senior title, and now you're presenting this project, which is not bad. But when you are a senior designer with 3 years experience, the expectations from you are so high. You cannot present this in a portfolio round and expect to get a better job with, I don't know, 17 lakhs, 20 lakhs, whatever. That's not going to happen. This is as good as, let's say, somebody working in a well-known startup with 6 months or 8 months of experience. And so now she essentially, I don't know how she made her career choices. And I told her this. The only way for you to go and sort of fix things is either stay in that company you're in forever, you're safe, or you have to take a few steps back and start again. Now, personal projects are not going to mean anything. You have one good project, and I told her, take some project in your current company. People want to see the project, and you've been in the company for 1.5 years. How do you not have one project to show? You need to show something. And she said, no, Chetan, that company works in such a way that it's not worth showing. It's not great. And I'm like, why were you in that company for 1.5 years? Why? Right? And her articulation skills are good. And she had this good project. After 3 years, if you're showing the project you worked 2 years ago, you could have left the company 6 months itself in the current company and applied quickly. Right? Why did you wait for so long and still present something you worked on 2 years ago? Doesn't make any sense. Maybe it's money, maybe it's not money, I don't know, right? That's why I say the first, and that's why when people get senior title, I don't even look at that title. I directly go and see how many years of work experience you have, where you've worked. I will judge your seniority based on the projects you've done, the places you've worked, not based on how many years of experiences you have. I don't care about your title, right? And a lot of people want this title because it comes with more money, and it's your choices at the end of the day. But I am showing you the reality of what's going to happen to you. So, change your perspective. Half glass empty or half glass full? Your choice. Right? I've given you enough information. Completely your choice. Half glass empty or half glass full? Right? See where you stand today. Think about what decisions you have to make. I don't know how many years of experience all of you have. I don't know where you are in your career, your status. No clue. Think about it, right? This profession isn't for everyone. People are scared to say it. I will say it. But it's okay. You can still come into this profession. But don't shoot for the stars. Things are already set against you. The odds are not in your favor. That's how the industry is today. Focus on controlling the controllables. If there's one key thing that I want to tell everybody who's struggling and wants to get into a much better company, don't. That's not a good goal to have anymore. Go to another company where you can get something that was missing in your existing company. Choose one. If we were to put a level, if you're at level 1, don't shoot for level 10. Go for level 2 or level 3. You have to progress slowly, right? Because the situation is so mucky right now. This is sort of like another 2 years, maybe 3 years is the last chance for everybody to get things sorted in life, right? Try to control the controllables. This is the most important thing. You cannot control the people you work with, the opportunities you get, and the team size. You can't control those things. So control the rest. Earn the right to demand things. Everybody wants best things. Who gave you the right to demand stuff like this? Why do you feel you're entitled to get this? What have you done in your life and in your career to say you demand this? Just because you have a design degree? Because you did a boot camp? You did a certificate? No. World doesn't work that way. You have to earn the right to demand things. Earn that right. Achieve things. Go step by step. I understand it's a lot of mental pressure. Time is running out. I get it. then try to optimize your life as much as you can, right? Earn the right to demand. And that was Don't Be an NPC Part 2. Yeah?